because there is so much we want to share. But I do want to tell you a little bit about what he just mentioned, that land where the warehouse was located, where John Kackelman sends the humanitarian aid. That land was donated to the Church of Christ by the mayor of Ivano-Frankivsk. It's a woman, the mayor's a woman, and she's just so impressed with what the Church of Christ is doing. And by that, I mean, John Kackelman sending those containers, it's all distributed through the church there in Ivano-Frankivsk. And so God gets the glory for that work, and as it should be. And so as a result, they're just very impressed with what the Church of Christ is doing. And it's opened up a lot of doors for us in Ukraine. So we're really, really pleased with the progress that's being made there. And I'm going to go through quickly these slides. You guys are familiar with this work, and we've given you many reports in the past. So I want to look at a few other things that maybe we haven't mentioned in the past. I want to focus with these last few minutes on the idea of self-sufficiency. That really is at the heart of our work. We really want these mission efforts, these preacher schools, and we want the preachers themselves to be totally self-sufficient. And that's much easier said than done, but we're making great progress there. And I want to share some of those things with you here. This is our most productive work, as you recall, in Ghana. That building now is our first building. It's completely finished. And so a lot of good things are happening there. We've got a new parking lot, you see. That's the back side of the building. And this is one of the larger rooms in the school. These are not preacher students that you see in the picture. It's rather it's local preachers that have come from all over Ghana, some of them maybe from neighboring countries, for a seminar. And the Volta Bible College, they host preacher training seminars on a regular basis. They have, quite often, they're about ready to start a marriage and family seminar. And one of the things that we try to emphasize, even in these seminars, is this idea of self-sufficiency of these preachers that are throughout the West Africa that have not been taught that they can take care of themselves. And so we try to implement that idea even in those that are not our students, to let them know they can provide for their families without American support. This is one of our prime examples of an African preacher taking it to heart. This is John Morkley. And I do not know who the man is in the picture with it. John is the man on the left. But John really took to heart this idea of being a successful businessman. He believed that he could support his own family, so he started a primary school for children and hired members of the church to be the teachers and charges tuition for those students to come to school. And it's generated a lot of money. And so the school continues to grow. He's adding more and more grades to his school. And John is such a dedicated Christian that the funds that he is getting from this school, he not only is putting back into his business, but he is supporting many gospel preachers in West Africa out of his own pocket now. That's what he's choosing to do with the money. But he's an example of being a successful businessman. There's another picture of John. You can see Hal Ferguson and I with John working on the radio program. He mentioned it in Philippines. Well, it's just as effective in Ghana as well. A lot of people are being reached by that. So John is a busy man, not only with running the school, but also his preaching and his radio work. This is another one of John's projects. As he began to be more and more successful in his business with the school, he saw another opportunity and met with the elders of the Joj Church of Christ, is where one of our extension schools are located. And he said, "Brethren, why don't we combine our resources and efforts to build a hospital or a clinic here in Joj? And the money that's generated from that clinic, we will use that to spread the gospel." And so that's what they've done. And you can see it's really a very nice building. And they have, since this building was done, Hal and I were there, it was not quite finished, but they have already now completed a maternity wards that they've added to the clinic. And they also now are able to receive financial assistance from the government. Kind of like our Medicaid and Medicare program. They have a similar program there, so people can come to the clinic and get free help, but the government will pay the bill for it. So that also will help the clinic to make more money to therefore support evangelism. So it's working. We're really proud of that. The school that we have in Togo is also part of John Morkley's work. John was the preacher there in Jojé, where our East Coast Bible Institute is. And through the radio program that I just mentioned, they are reaching people into the neighboring country of Togo. A lot of people have been converted through that, and they've established several congregations. So they decided to start a preacher school. You may remember this story. They started that school on their own, without American assistance. Now, it was a little bamboo walls with a dirt floor, and they only had 6 students to begin with, but they did it on their own, and I was very proud of them for that. And that's that self-propagating aspect that we mentioned a moment ago. They become missionaries themselves. And so while they did start that school on their own, they needed help. And so we purchased some land, and you see we built a new building for them, and that's now they call it the Togo Bible College. Well, I just received a phone call from John a few days ago, and he said we now have 20 new students enrolled in the school. Brethren, there's not 20 churches of Christ in Togo, in the whole country of Togo. And so we now have 20 new preacher students, and we are graduating 4 of that original 6. 4 of them are graduating to go full-time into preaching. But I can't even imagine. I was going to say, I want you to try to imagine what's going to happen in Togo in the next few months. I can't even imagine what God is going to do. But to train 20 more preachers to go to work in that country is phenomenal. It is going to literally change that country for the good. So we're really proud of that work and what they are doing on their own. This is Gladstone. He is one of our first, he graduated from our first graduating class there in Ghana at the Volta Bible College. And Gladstone decided that he wanted to have a poultry farm to support his family. We have taught the students at Volta Bible College various means to support themselves. Poultry farming is one of them. Nutria is another. No, that's Ukraine, Nutria. They call it grass cutters. Yeah. Called grass cutters over there. It looks kind of like a beaver with a flat tail, or I don't know. It doesn't look like anything I've seen over here, but it's a delicacy over there. And so we've taught them how to raise those to sell, and farming, various things. But here's an example. Gladstone was one of our better students, but you can see he's got quite a good project going there. And sells the eggs and sells the chickens as well. But he's being very successful there, totally self-supporting. So these are examples of guys that aren't needing American money to support themselves. Godwin is one of our instructors in the Bible College, and he is now a student in the graduate program. I just got back from there. We've started a master's program there, graduate school, with 12 students. And so we have some instructors that need to get their master's degree, and he's one of them. And in this particular picture, we are stocking books on the shelves of the library. We're having to clean them up first, and then we have a labeling machine for the librarian. She's putting the numbers and using the Dewey Decimal System for the library. So I had the students cleaning the books and getting them ready to put on the shelves. But I spoke with Godwin, and he said, "Brother Hamrick, I want to tell you what I'm doing to support my family." I said, what are you doing? He said, "Well, I have started a primary school for children in the city where I live." And he said, "We now have 200 students." And I said, "That's great, that's great." And he said, "We're going to add, as the money becomes available, we're going to add more grades to the program." But he and his wife run the program, and he said what was so wonderful about this is that they get to have chapel every day. They pray with these kids. They teach them about Christ. It's not only a means of supporting his family, but it's a great outreach to these families. And he said, Brother Hamrick, we're reaching these children's parents as well. And so you can see God working here, but these are just some examples of guys that are wanting to be self-supported. This is Brother McDonough that Hal mentioned earlier. He should be here with us, but he's having some health issues. It's not as serious as we first thought, but it was such that prevented he and Diane from being with us. So I'm sorry they couldn't be here. But just to tell you very quickly what kind of people we work with, Hal mentioned he was a pharmacist, and Diane, a medical doctor in Philippines. They actually ran a hospital. They were the administration. They ran a hospital in Manila. They gave all of that up to go full-time into the ministry. Isn't that amazing? They gave all that up to become full-time spreading the gospel. This is another picture. This is Ukraine. You see in the back of the picture, I've got a couple of red arrows. The man standing up in the back with the blue plaid shirt is Andrew. He's one of our students in the new school that Hal mentioned. He's an attorney. And he's putting all of that aside to become a gospel preacher. Why would somebody do that? If that's what he's doing. The guy in the front in the orange or gold color shirt with the arrow, his name is Emmanuel Nemo. He's actually from Ghana, but he's gone to medical school in Ukraine, in Ivano-Frankivsk. He's already a doctor, but he wants to have his own practice, and so he's gone there to get more education. And what's really amazing about Emmanuel, in the medical school, he's told the other medical students who are from all over the world, he said, if you will come to the Church of Christ, I will give you free tutoring. But you come to the Church of Christ for Bible study, and I will tutor you for free. And so initially 4 or 5 students came to the church there in Ivano-Frankivsk, and Emmanuel began teaching Bible to those students. Well, the word got around to the other students in the medical school, and they also were interested in the idea of coming to the Church of Christ for free Bible studies. And now the class has grown to 65. 65 medical students are coming to the Church of Christ for free Bible lessons. And you see the students are from Ghana, Iran, Namibia, India, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Angola. Just the list goes on and on. But can you imagine? No, you can't, because I can't either. What is that going to do? When these young people, and obviously these are highly educated people, when they go back to their home country with the gospel, I don't know what God's going to do with that, but it's just the potential there is just incredible. But that's the kind of people we have working with us, and that we're just privileged to be a part of. And so I ask you, what drives these men? Why do they work so hard? Why do they continue to study at the Bible college? Why do they preach for several congregations each week? Some of them do. Why do they spend so much time preaching on the radio? Why do they spend their own money to spread the gospel? Because people all over the world are eager to obey the gospel. This woman wants to be baptized so bad, but she can't walk. Somebody said, I'll carry you. She wanted to have her sins washed away. Because these people deserve an opportunity to be saved. That's why these men do it. Because there's nothing in this world more valuable than just one soul. Here's Amen. A picture of an entire family being baptized together. Thousands are eager to come to Jesus. And that's why we ask you, as supporters of this, help us in what we're doing. Help us help them. You recognize that guy, Jeremiah, in Uganda? That's why this work with WBI is so important. That's what it's all about. It's not about the hokey pokey. I saw a t-shirt the other day. It said, what if the hokey pokey is what it's all about? Well, it's not about the hokey pokey. This is what it's all about. And this is why we do what we do. And this is why these brethren are willing to sacrifice to help spread the gospel, because that's all that really matters. Brethren, when this life ends, it isn't going to matter what kind of car you drove or what kind of house you lived in. it won't matter.
That's right.
There's only one thing that matters, and that's your relationship with God. And what we did to help others to have that. And so, you know, this is true every year now. We're averaging over 3,000 baptisms, and I know that number is just going to continue to go up as God continues to bless us in this work. So this is one of my wives, Rhonda, is here. She's my first and only wife, so I'm glad to have her with us here. But there's so much more we could share, but I know our time is up. And I just want to say thank you for your kind attention. And God bless the McDonough Church of Christ for what you do that makes all this possible. We appreciate so much your support, your generosity. I know this church gives a lot to this work, and God bless you for that. But I assure you of this, your money is well spent. Your money is well spent. There are going to be people in heaven because of the generosity of this congregation. Thank you. We're dismissed now. Thank you.